What if I told you the single most successful military deception in history wasn't carried out by a spy, wasn't executed by a soldier, but was performed by the dead? On April 1943, Nazi forces had Europe in a chokehold. The Allies faced an impossible dilemma. They needed to invade Europe, but there was a problem. Hitler knew exactly where they would strike, and the price of failure would be 10,000 Allied soldiers dead on the first day alone. So British intelligence conceived a plan so outrageous, so macabre, that even their own commanders could hardly believe it. Let's get right into it. By early 1943, the tide of World War II was beginning to turn. The Allies had stopped the Nazi advance in North Africa and Russia, but Hitler's grip on Europe remained unbroken. The time had come to invade the continent itself. But where? Sicily was the obvious choice, a stepping stone to Italy and the soft underbelly of Europe. Just 90 miles from North Africa, it offered the perfect invasion route. There was just one small problem. The Germans knew Sicily was the obvious target. Hitler had reinforced the island with his best troops and had turned Sicily into a fortress. 15 divisions, including the elite Hermann Göring Panzer Division, waited behind minefields, bunkers, and artillery positions. British intelligence intercepted a message from Hitler himself saying, "Sicily is the obvious target. Defend it at all costs." Allied planners faced a grim calculus. A frontal assault on Sicily could cost 10,000 Allied lives on the first day alone. It would be D-Day before D-Day, a bloodbath. Churchill demanded an alternative. "Gentlemen," he reportedly said, "we need to convince the Germans that we're attacking anywhere but Sicily." They needed a miracle, or better yet, a masterful deception that would make Hitler look elsewhere. But how do you deceive the most paranoid leader in history with his network of spies across Europe? Now, in a nondescript building in London, a group known as the 20 Committee orchestrated British counterintelligence. Their Roman numeral designation, XX, was a fitting pun, double cross. Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague, a brilliant lawyer from a prominent Jewish family who gave up his career to fight fascism. Flight Lieutenant Charles Cholmondeley, an imaginative intelligence officer whose colleagues called him slightly mad, but in the right way. Individually, they were remarkable. Together, they were about to make history. In January 1943, Cholmondeley proposed something unprecedented.
What if we get a dead body, dress it as a courier carrying secret documents, and make it wash ashore where German spies will find it?
The idea was outlandish, ghoulish, and possibly brilliant. But could a corpse really convince Hitler to redeploy his armies? Admiral John Godfrey, the director of naval intelligence and the real-life inspiration for James Bond's M, gave the operation his blessing with 6 fateful words. "Well, gentlemen, what are you waiting for?" This audacious deception needed a code name worthy of its bizarre nature. They called it Operation Mincemeat. Now they just needed one small thing, a dead body. Finding the right corpse wasn't easy. They needed someone who appeared to have drowned but hadn't actually been in water. The body couldn't show its true cause of death, yet had to be convincing as a Royal Marines officer. And there was another complication. Time was not on their side. Decomposition meant any body would need to be used quickly. Into this morbid challenge stepped Dr. Bentley Purchase, the eccentric coroner of St. Pancras, who controlled London's public mortuary and had access to unclaimed bodies, and just enough moral flexibility for wartime necessity. In January 1943, he called Montague.
"I think I've found your man."
Glyndwr Michael, Welsh, 34 years old, homeless, found in an abandoned warehouse, cause of death, rat poison containing phosphorus. Crucially, this type of poisoning mimicked the signs of drowning while preserving the body longer. Michael had no family to claim him, no one to mourn him. He was one of thousands of forgotten victims of the war, not from bombs or bullets, but from the desperate conditions on the home front. Montague later wrote, "In death, this forgotten man would serve his country in a way he never could in life." With the body secured, they had to work quickly. Their deceased courier needed an identity, a personality, and most importantly, a story so convincing it would fool the Third Reich. The team's attention to detail was obsessive, bordering on artistic. This wasn't just creating fake documents, they were crafting an entire life. They named him Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. The rank was carefully chosen, senior enough to carry important documents, but not so high profile that anyone would be expected to recognize him. Every aspect of Martin's life sparked debate. Cholmondeley wanted him to be an adventurous outdoorsman. Montague argued for a more buttoned-up personality. Each detail mattered because inconsistency could expose the fraud. They gave him theater ticket stubs from a recent show, a stern letter from his bank about an overdraft, an ID card, deliberately slightly outdated, cigarettes and matches, the matches used but not fully depleted, a receipt for an engagement ring purchased from a real London jeweler. And then there was Pam, his fictional fiancée. The photograph showed a beautiful MI5 clerk who had volunteered for the role. Her love letters to Martin were composed with emotional authenticity, mixing romantic longing with mundane details about her day. One letter mentioned going to bed with that photograph of you, just the sort of detail that would convince German intelligence these were real lovers separated by war. But the masterpiece was the official correspondence. They crafted a letter from Lieutenant General Sir Archibald Nye, the Vice Chief of Imperial General Staff, to General Harold Alexander in Tunisia. The letter casually mentioned that while the Allies would stage a feint toward Sicily, the real targets would be Greece and Sardinia. It referred to these as the obvious targets, and even mentioned a timeline and specific landing craft allocations. Every word was calculated to seem authentic, yet casually reveal crucial misinformation. Too obvious, and the Germans would suspect a trap. Too subtle, and they might miss the deception entirely. They artificially aged the documents, making them look genuinely handled. Then they placed them in a briefcase chained to Major Martin's wrist with a leather-covered chain, official procedure for couriers carrying classified information. By April 1943, their fictional major was complete, from his underwear to his bus tickets to the lint in his pockets. Now came the most dangerous part: delivery. The submarine HMS Seraph departed Scotland under absolute secrecy. Only its commander, Lieutenant Norman Jewell, knew the full mission details. The crew was told they were transporting a top-secret weather device. In reality, their cargo was stored in a special steel container filled with dry ice, the body of Glyndwr Michael, now permanently transformed into Major William Martin. The team had solved the decomposition problem with impressive improvisation. The steel container was designed to regulate temperature perfectly. It also included a modification to release the pressure from decomposition gases, a ghoulish but necessary detail. On April 30th, 1943, at 4:30 a.m., HMS Seraph surfaced off the coast of Huelva, Spain. Why Spain? Though officially neutral, Franco's regime was known to share intelligence with the Nazis. British spies had identified a German agent, Adolf Klaus, operating in Huelva. He was their target audience. Lieutenant Commander Jewell performed a solemn ritual. Reading from the Book of Psalms, he commended the body of the unknown soldier to the deep, acknowledging the real man inside Operation Mincemeat. The tide was carefully calculated to carry Major Martin ashore at a specific location. The life jacket ensured he would float rather than sink. Now they could only wait and hope. At 9:30 a.m., a local fisherman made the discovery. Spanish authorities recovered the waterlogged corpse and its precious cargo. Spanish officials followed proper diplomatic protocol, notifying the British about the deceased officer. But before returning the briefcase, They did exactly what British intelligence had anticipated. They made the documents available to Nazi spies. The trap was set. Now, would Hitler take the bait? German intelligence in Madrid received the photographs within hours. Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, head of the Abwehr, ordered immediate analysis. The German examination was extraordinarily thorough. They analyzed the paper quality, ink composition, and handwriting patterns. They cross-referenced the theaters mentioned on ticket stubs against actual London showtimes. What they found satisfied them completely. These documents appeared genuine in every detail. The information was deemed so significant that it went directly to Hitler's headquarters. Hitler, already suspicious of Sicily as too obvious a target, found confirmation of his instincts in Major Martin's briefcase. The documents perfectly aligned with his strategic paranoia. What the Germans didn't know, British code breakers at Bletchley Park had cracked the Enigma code. They could read German communications in near real time. On May 14th, they intercepted the message they'd been waiting for.
Documents found on British courier indicate landings in Greece and Sardinia, with Sicily as diversionary target only.
Hitler did exactly what the British hoped. He ordered the elite 1st Panzer Division moved from France to Greece. The Hermann Göring Panzer Division was transferred from Sicily to Sardinia. Reinforcements destined for Sicily were redirected. All told, Hitler shifted tens of thousands of troops, hundreds of tanks, naval vessels, and aircraft away from the actual invasion target, all because of documents found on a dead Welsh homeless man. In London, Montagu received the news with understated British satisfaction. The deception had worked perfectly. One team member simply noted in his diary, "Mincemeat swallowed whole." On July 10th, 1943, Operation Husky began, the Allied invasion of Sicily. Over 160,000 troops approached the island in the largest amphibious assault in history to that point. The difference was immediately apparent. Instead of facing 15 German divisions as feared, Allied forces encountered just 2, and those were not in optimal defensive positions. The landing succeeded beyond all expectations. Allied forces secured beachheads quickly and pushed inland at a pace that shocked even the most optimistic planners. British General Montgomery and American General Patton turned the campaign into a personal competition, racing each other to capture key objectives. The island that was expected to require months of bloody fighting fell in just 38 days. The human cost tells the story. Instead of the 10,000 casualties predicted for the first day alone, the entire Sicily campaign cost roughly 5,000 Allied lives. Thousands of families would never know they owed their fathers, sons, and brothers to Operation Mincemeat. When Hitler realized he had been deceived, his fury was legendary. One aide recorded, "The Führer was beside himself. He had fallen for the oldest ruse in warfare, believing what he wanted to believe." The consequences cascaded rapidly. Italy's fascist Grand Council voted to depose Mussolini. Italy surrendered and switched sides. Hitler was forced to divert precious resources from the Russian front to shore up his southern flank. A single briefcase of false documents had changed the entire strategic landscape of World War II. Operation Mincemeat was hailed as a triumph of strategic deception. Churchill later wrote, "In no part of the war did a single deception yield such remarkable and spectacular results." And what of Glyndwr Michael, the homeless man who posthumously changed history? He was buried with full military honors in Huelva, Spain. For decades, his headstone bore only his operational name. In 1998, the British government finally acknowledged his true identity with a new inscription. Glyndwr Michael served as Major William Martin, RM. Today, Operation Mincemeat is studied in military academies worldwide as the gold standard of strategic deception. The operation inspired Ian Fleming, who helped plan parts of Mincemeat in creating James Bond. The elaborate backstory crafting became the template for creating cover identities in intelligence work for generations. Ewan Montagu was awarded the Order of the British Empire. He later wrote the best-selling book, The Man Who Never Was, finally revealing the operation to the public in 1953. Charles Cholmondeley returned to civilian life with little recognition. Like many intelligence officers, his greatest achievements remained classified for decades. Perhaps the most remarkable legacy is that of Glyndwr Michael himself. A man who died alone and forgotten became essential to one of history's most consequential military deceptions. In death, he saved more lives than most save in a lifetime. One body, one briefcase, one brilliant deception. If this incredible true story fascinated you, hit subscribe for more hidden histories that shaped our world. Leave a comment below and remember to share this video. See you next time.